This is the Genealogy Queen coming back to you with part 2 of the sneak peek of the 1950 census. So if you haven't looked back at part 1, I suggest you do so. It goes through how what is on the 1950 census and how to gather the information of your family on the addresses of the family members that you want to look up. So moving on to part 2, we're going to actually say there are actually 2 different ways right now to locate your ancestors prior to the index being completed. So that's very important. So obviously, if you're willing to wait for the index to be completed, we have 2 different main groups that are doing that. One is Ancestry.com and the other is FamilySearch.org. So on Ancestry.com, they expect it to be done sometime in July or August. It's being done through an AI. They expect the accuracy of that to be about 65 to 75% accurate. So that means that you may or may not find your ancestor through that initial index. And the other thing is that you want to try all the different spelling variations, right? Just to make sure any possible way that it could be spelled, just to see if you could pop it up. And the most important thing is trying to find that location so that you really can pinpoint where you're looking. And then the second one is Family Search, and they are going to be taking that same AI from Ancestry. They're working together, and they have tens of thousands of volunteers that are going to go through and verify that index on FamilySearch.org. And so it may take a little bit longer. They're going to release that out state by state as each full state is completed. And so I can give you some information later on or maybe down below on if you want to participate in that. You get to pick where you verify information. And so that's really exciting because you can go and say, I want to go where my family was, right? And I want to verify that information and maybe get even a better sneak peek before everyone else. So again, those are the 2 areas, Ancestry.com and FamilySearch.org. And I'm going to show you both ways in which to look and find ahead of time where to go next. So with that, I'll kind of pop it up on the screen here. The first one I suggest is actually a free website, and it's called stevemorse.org, and they have great tools there for all of the census, all the way up and through 1950. And so even if you're looking for previous census, this is a great tool to use. But it's especially useful right now, right before the index is finished. So in that, I would go to stevemorse.org. I'll pop that up there. And then you go down to Unified Census ED Finder. And what you're trying to do is find the enumeration district that your family was taken the census in. So you click on the little drop down on the caret, make sure you're selected to 1950, and you'll see the screen here, and then you're going to select the state you believe they were in, the county if you have it, city or town. It'll give you a drop down. If you don't see it there, you can just put other, and then you can type it in. And then when you click on get your 1950 ED numbers, it should populate for you which ones that correspond to your location based on the information you gave them. Now you can give them a house number and street if you have it and get it right pinpointed, but as much information as you have, it'll give you the districts that are available or could potentially be a match. And so in my case, I put down my family. And as you see, for Wisconsin and for Walworth County and for Lake Geneva or Pell Lake, right? So in Pell Lake, it comes across as ED 64-1 or 64-2. And so what I do is I clicked on viewing the descriptions of those, and it gives me the information here that tells me whether it is within the unincorporated area of what's called Pell Lake, or whether it's the Bloomfield Township, the little bit region outside of Pell Lake. And so I know that my family lived right in the area of Pell Lake, and so they should be found in ED 64-1. And so, but it also tells me a little bit of information here. So in 1950, the population was 581 people. So very, very tiny, small town. Still was a small town when I was born there. But it also tells me information about the 1940 census. There was 904 dwelling units with the population 971 for the entire area, right? So that included both districts together. So it went from 971 to like 1,400 people. So pretty good growth in that time frame. There's 118 farms in 1940. So it doesn't give me that breakdown for 1950, but it does give me some information there just to say, oh, well, that's kind of where they were at. And of course, I know what it is now. So, that's pretty cool. The other area, because again, she had two different locations for me, was a neighboring town, a larger town called Lake Geneva. And so I said, well, let's look that up. And so again, using the same tool, we came up with 4 enumeration districts. And so then I was like, well, this gives me sort of the broad thing. So I just pull up Google Maps and I just look at the Google map and see by the bounds and the description where the different wards were. And I can tell that the street that she gave me was Ward 3. And so I'll be looking in 64-27 and 64-28 first. So that really narrows it down, right, for me. And it gives me 1,254 people and 613 people that I'll be looking at for each of those districts. I think the first one, the larger one, is probably where it's at, but we'll see when we get there, right? So anyway, so just want to give you an idea. So that's what you can do. Again, this website is absolutely free. It's a great tool by Steve Morse. Really, that's really great. And so then you can take this information and you can go onto familysearch.org and you can, or Ancestry, and you can look, but Family Search is free. So for those of you that do not have a subscription to Ancestry, you can go onto familysearch.org and they will have it there. You'll be able to browse images first, and then that's why you use it this way, so you know exactly how to pinpoint which one you're browsing, so you're not trying to search through millions of people, and you can get it narrowed down to like 600 people, right? And then the other option is, if you do have a subscription to Ancestry.com, I'm going to pop it up here, is they have a really great thing. If you go to the homepage, just right now at least you scroll about halfway down, but I'm going to put the URL up just in case they move it around. They have the 1950 Census District Finder. And so this is a great automated way to do this. And so what they do is you type in your address that you know, hopefully by a house number, but if you have just the street, you can try that. And you go ahead and click it here. And then what I did for this one is I did my father, because I knew exactly the house number. And so that is where he was living in 1950, was 6439 South Lawler Avenue in Chicago. And I knew from growing up, he said he lived just a couple blocks, south of Midway Airport. And, there's some cool stories that come out of that, because he actually, for junior and senior year of high school, got to build an airplane from scratch and fly it out of Midway Airport over the railroad yard and circle around and come back. And that was their senior project. How cool is that? I was like, that's amazing. So anyway, so I pull this up and it shows me that the selected district is 16-356. So that's the enumeration district number that I'll be looking at for my dad. It shows me a pinpoint of based on a current map, where he was located. And sure enough, it's a couple blocks south. But it doesn't show me a railroad yard, and so that was a little confusing to me. However, you can see over on the right-hand side of the slide, there's an ability to overlay the actual map that was used at the time in 1950 and what that map looked like. And so I'm going to just pop it over here. Here you go. And you can see now the same location, but you can see what it looked like in 1950. And sure enough, here we have Bedford Park, and we have, sorry, I'm trying to read it, but we have the industrial clearing yard for the railroad. And so, my dad was telling the truth, and that's where it was. And so now I can actually see the path of the runway off of, he said, I flew right over my house, I circled around the yard, and I came back and landed in the middle of the airport. How cool is that? So now I can see this, and now I know where he lives. I can look him up in the 1950 census. Obviously, this didn't happen until later in like 1960, but I get to see how that actually worked and that all that came together. So anyway, so this is how you want to look it up Write down those enumeration districts. This is also interactive, so I would suggest if you're not exactly sure, and it'll give you multiple districts if you just have like a street name but you don't know a house number, that's okay. So you can actually, poke around on there and click, and it will highlight different districts and give you the number. So if you're not exactly sure, you'll be able to write down the enumeration districts of the numbers around the area you think. So then you have 4 or 5 to look through. So if you don't find them on the first one, you know exactly where to go next. So again, you have familysearch.org, which is absolutely free, using the stevemorse.org website to find the enumeration district, or you can use ancestry.com if you already have a paid subscription to them. You type in the city, state, or ED number when you're searching once it's released, and then you'll be able to browse those images. Ancestry's AI index, they're planning on publishing it around June of this year in 2022. Again, the accuracy is 65 to 75% is what they're guessing. So check for all possible spelling variations when you're looking at that point, when you're just trying to search via your surname. Family Search plans to publish their index state by state as completed as soon as possible. And again, I'll put that link down below where you're welcome to take a look and see how you can get involved. So that is it for now. I'm so excited. I'll be having updates coming day by day as they make changes and updates to the websites as April 1st releases. We'll see how long it takes for them to actually get something up that we can look at. But as soon as they do, I'll probably publish something fairly live that day. This is just really exciting. So this is the 1940 census were really exciting because I got to look up my grandparents and where they were at that time. But this is really exciting because you get to look up parents. And so, and then obviously for people that are younger, their grandparents. And so it really puts you into a time frame where you get to see how your family was living, and people that you know, right? It's not somebody that's hundreds of years ago. It's somebody that's right here that you love. And it also, I have to say, I do have a lot of people that come to me and they say, well, I can't do family history because, there's a break in the family and I don't talk to my dad anymore, or I don't talk to my mom anymore, or whatever the situation is. And I'm sorry if you're going through that. But I say that if you have a really great desire to do family history, we can use the census to kind of jump those conversations and to start learning about our family history, even if they've passed away or if they're not available to talk, and that you get to learn. And as I have found, and I'll share in future videos, that as you learn about your family history, you learn kind of the things that have been passed down and taught to you and brought down from, generation to generation. And you get to see what I call the good, the bad, and the funny, right? of your family. People that you can feel really proud of, that you're connected to. People that you're like, oh, that was so hard. How did they get through that? And show the determination and the strong stock of who you come from. And then there's people that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm related to that person. I can't believe they did that, right? But all of it enriches our lives. It makes us feel more connected to each other and to something deeper. And so I'm really excited to share this with you. Again, stay tuned for more videos on the 1950 census and beyond. So please subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.